A short, gusty wind broke in under the awning, throwing a handful of icy snow into the cat's face. She didn't flinch, but pressed herself tighter against the rough concrete wall. This spot, the corner of an unfinished parking garage complex on Trestle Way, was simultaneously her refuge and her prison. Behind her, bare rebar rods. In front, an ice-covered wasteland strewn with the tracks of rusty construction equipment. Somewhere out there, far around the corner, she could hear the drone of passing cars, the sound of a large, indifferent life that had nothing to do with her. The cat was hungry. For the third day, she had survived on half a frozen chicken gristle found in a dumpster. Every cell of her body screamed from the strain, but she didn't dare leave her lair. The frost scorched the pads of her paws, even through her matted, dirty fur. She inhaled, hoping to catch even a faint scent of food. Her nose only caught the smell of damp concrete, a greasy, distant, acrid diesel exhaust. She pulled her paws closer to her body. Her back arched, making every bone distinctly noticeable beneath her skin. Tomorrow promised nothing new except for an intensifying cold. She closed her eyes, not to sleep, but to conserve energy. Suddenly, the drone of the cars grew closer, changing to a crunching sound, and then to footsteps on the packed snow sidewalk. A person. The cat instantly tensed, pressing herself into the wall, as if her body might merge with the cold stone. She knew that rhythm of steps. These were the construction workers who came here at 8 o'clock a.m. They usually didn't notice her, passing right by, but once one of them, a broad-shouldered man in an orange vest, had kicked an empty plastic bottle in her direction. The sound of the impact, the clatter of the plastic on the concrete, still echoed in her ears. She waited. The footsteps slowed, and these weren't the heavy male footsteps. The rhythm was lighter, more hurried. A woman. Anya was walking to work. Her shift started at 8 o'clock a.m. The streetlights on Juniper Street were still lit, but gave little illumination. She worked as a manager in a small print shop, and, every morning, she walked past this seemingly useless stretch of abandoned construction site. Her usual thoughts assailed her. How can I finish the project on time? Why is the rent going up? Do I need to buy milk tonight? Her gaze was scattered, fixed on the gray pre-dawn gloom. She had almost passed the corner when her peripheral vision caught something unusual. Not trash, not a piece of cloth, something alive. She stopped, freezing in the middle of the narrow path. "Oh, God!" she quietly exhaled, raising a hand to her face. The cat, almost blending into the dirty concrete, wasn't moving, but Anya could see her breathing. Short, quick spasms shook the thin body. It was all covered in a crust of dry, gray grime that made the animal look like a clay figurine. "Hey!" Anya took half a step forward. The cat didn't run. It only lowered its head, as if hiding, and began to tremble with a fine, nervous shiver. Its whiskers drooped, touching the ground. It looked old, sick, and completely without will. Anya felt an unpleasant, constricting spasm rise in her throat. It was impossible to watch this tiny creature dissolve into the cold and the dirt. And then she saw them. The dirt seemed to be everywhere, on the matted fur, on the muzzle, on the dried-up lips. But the eyes weren't just clean, they were unbelievably, piercingly blue, the color of a frozen sky or the ice on a deep lake. They were the only bright spot in this whole picture of despair and loneliness. And in them, even through that stunning, unnatural blue, was such a deep, all-consuming fear that Anya's breath caught. She felt a physical heaviness, as if this cold, this hopelessness, were pressing down on her. She dropped her backpack on the ground, ignoring the loud thud. "You don't look like you belong here at all," Anya whispered, though she knew the cat wouldn't understand her words. Slowly, demonstrating she was no threat, she crouched down. The asphalt, frozen solid, immediately began to burn her knees. The cat twitched, but made no attempt to run. Hunger was stronger than terror. It slowly looked away, displaying total submission, ready for whatever, a kick or being chased off. That submission, that refusal to fight, was the peak of the tension. Anya felt a hot wave wash over her cheeks. A tight, painful knot clenched in her heart. Anya realized she couldn't leave, but she also knew that in its current state, the cat would never let her touch it. Trying to grab it would only make the animal use its last energy reserves to escape, which would be the same as a death sentence. Anya reached out a hand, but stopped it inches away. She straightened up abruptly. She looked at her watch. 7:45. She would be late, but it didn't matter now. She quickly adjusted her jacket and glanced at the construction site. The tall fence, the crooked gate. The cat remained motionless, as if frozen right in that posture of surrender. Anya took a step back, and then another. "I'll come back," she said loudly, so the cat at least could hear her voice, gentle and without threat. "I'll be back with food. Don't leave." She walked away, feeling the gaze of the blue eyes drilling into her back. Anya sped up, but a plan was already forming in her mind. A plan that started with buying canned food and ended with her definitely being late for work today. "Are you sure that's a good idea, Anya?" There was genuine doubt ringing in Kelsey's voice, her print shop colleague. "Pedigreed animals, left like that. It's always a risk." "Kels, you didn't see her." Anya set the bag of canned food on the table, not looking at her colleague. Her elbows, her hands, her whole body seemed to still remember the strain with which she had run to the nearest supermarket. "She has eyes. They aren't just blue, they're completely otherworldly. And her whole body, she's skin and bones." "Anya, don't take on too much. It's a construction site. There are dozens of them out there. You'll just wear yourself out." "Maybe," Anya shrugged, and in the gesture there was more determination than exhaustion. "But if she were an ordinary stray, I'd probably just call a rescue group. But she clearly shouldn't have ended up there. I'll buy a litter box and litter. Worst case, I'll take her to a shelter, but first I have to get her out of there." She left work promptly at 6:00 p.m., leaving Kelsey to finish the rush order. Dusk was falling fast. The streetlights on Trestle Way, where she returned, shone dimly, casting long, uneasy shadows. Anya walked slowly, clutching a bag containing meat pâté in a can and a box of dry kibble. She had also brought an old terry-cloth scarf to lay down. The cold had intensified. The ground crunched under her feet with sharp ice crystals. Anya turned the corner of the abandoned parking garage complex. The cat was in place. She was lying in the exact same position, curled up in a tight, dirty ball. When Anya approached, the animal lifted its head, and the blue eyes flashed in the light of the street lamp. "Hello, I'm back." Anya spoke in the even, quiet tone she used when comforting crying children or friends. She slowly crouched down, about 10 feet from the cat, making no sudden movements. The scent of fresh pâté immediately cut through the mix of diesel and concrete dust. The cat sniffed. Its nostrils twitched slightly. This was the first movement not driven by fear. Anya cautiously opened the can. The slight metallic scrape caused an instant reaction in the animal. The fur on its back stood up slightly, and its spine curved again, preparing to spring. "Shh, shh, my good girl. This is for you," Anya said. She set the can on the dirty asphalt and nudged it a little closer with the toe of her boot. She didn't dare reach out. She knew that one sudden movement and the animal would vanish forever. The cat didn't move. She looked at the can, then at Anya, then back at the can. Two powerful instincts fought in her gaze, the primal fear of the tall, strange being and a burning, searing hunger. It was a true internal drama. Anya sat on her haunches and simply waited. The minutes dragged on. Each one felt like an hour. Anya's patience was rewarded. Overcoming itself, the cat began to inch forward, slowly, smoothly. She wasn't walking on her paws, but practically crawling on her belly, pressed to the ground, as if the very air could harm her. Every millimeter of the journey was torture, requiring an immense effort of will. When the distance between her and the food narrowed to half a yard, the cat stopped. She lowered her head, extending her neck, but still hesitating to touch the pâté. Anya could feel the tension vibrating in the air. She held herself in a vice grip, no sigh, no cough, no slightest movement. Finally, the cat darted. It was a quick, barely perceptible motion, and her tongue touched the pâté. She didn't chew. She licked quickly, nervously, as if afraid the food would vanish. With every lick, her body became slightly less tense. Anya saw her shoulders twitching from the hunger and the haste. A moment later, the cat pulled away from the food and lifted her head. Her gaze was again directed at Anya, full of distrust and alarm. She expected a trick. Anya felt a sudden dryness in her mouth. She couldn't tear her eyes away from this creature that so desperately wanted to live. Disgust toward those who could abandon such a creature filled her to the brim, overriding the cold. "Eat! I won't touch you! Eat!" Anya repeated, almost soundlessly. The cat, convinced there was no immediate threat, bent over the can again. She ate greedily, but not wildly, displaying a certain aristocratic restraint even in her desperate situation. Anya stood up. The cat flinched but didn't run, continuing to eat. "I'm just going to move away," Anya announced, although the animal likely didn't understand her. She walked toward the nearest dumpster, leaving the cat to finish its meal. Unable to just walk away, Anya returned to her previous spot and sat down again, but slightly further away. The cat, barely finishing the pâté, immediately vanished into the shadow of its concrete refuge. She didn't even glance at the dry kibble. Anya waited a few more minutes to make sure the animal was satisfied and calmer. She left the old scarf, placing it in the corner of the niche. Perhaps it would offer a little warmth. Anya went home, but knew for certain that tomorrow morning, before work, she would turn onto Trestle Way again. She needed to see this amazing animal again. She had to confirm that something more than just a common stray was hidden beneath the layers of dirt. A large, heavy stone. That's exactly how the food-filled stomach felt. Yesterday's pâté was soft, warm. It went down quickly and brought a brief, almost forgotten sense of security. She came back. The woman who didn't shout, didn't kick, didn't throw stones. The woman who didn't smell of diesel or rot, but of something clean, like dry snow and distant cinnamon. It was strange. Her body, exhausted to the limit, demanded immediate sleep. But her mind, which had held on for weeks on the adrenaline of fear, refused to relax. The threat was gone, but it was there, around the corner. What if she returned with others? What if she was just luring her out to catch her later? The cat inhaled deeply, cautiously. It was slightly warmer under the cloth the woman had left. The soles of her paws, tormented by the cold, gratefully accepted the soft texture. No, the woman didn't smell of threat. Only an indistinct, strange focus emanated from her. She had survived too long among roughness and indifference to believe in a miracle like a bowl of food given for nothing. Anya came for the third time. This time she was a little earlier, around 7 o'clock a.m. The sun hadn't yet risen above the rooftops, but the streetlights made the scene visible enough. Anya sat down in the familiar spot, holding a small plastic bowl. "Good morning, my good girl," she whispered. "Today we have fish." She placed the bowl in the exact same spot. The cat slipped out of its corner almost immediately. Apparently, she was waiting. Today, she looked slightly less hunched, although the tremor as she approached the bowl still ran through her body. Anya did not attempt to get closer. She simply sat, watching. The morning silence reigned, broken only by the rare steps of passers-by hurrying to the bus. A cool, damp scent of morning mist hung in the air, layered over a faint aroma of fried onions from someone's early kitchen window. The cat ate faster than yesterday, not so frantically, but very purposefully, and at that moment, while she was bent over the bowl, Anya was able to truly examine her. The dirt on her muzzle, layered over weeks, seemed to be starting to flake off. "Oh, my God," Anya said softly. Above her nose, where the fur was most matted, tufts of something unbelievably white were showing through. White as paper, not creamy or gray, but a pure, snowy shade. The aristocratic pointed shape of the muzzle, the neat curve of the neck, and, of course, the eyes. Today, with slightly more light, they seemed even deeper. You're a real beauty." Anya fell silent, afraid of frightening the animal. Even in this terrible situation, where the animal resembled a skeleton covered in dirty skin, her breed was evident: a long, straight body, a narrow head. Even when the cat ate, she wasn't frantic. Her movements were smooth, not jerky. She didn't smack her lips. She took the pieces neatly. How could she have ended up here? Anya imagined the scene: a well-kept house, silk cushions, the owner's hands regularly brushing this coat. The cat finished eating. She moved away from the bowl, but instead of immediately vanishing like yesterday, she paused. She began to groom herself. It was unbelievable. Even in the dirt that she couldn't completely clean off, she tried to restore purity. She worked her tongue focusedly on her front paw, and that's when Anya saw the gesture. The cat raised her head, straightened her neck, and her movements became not just feline, but a kind of ritual, full of inner dignity. She was a queen who found herself in a gutter, but hadn't forgotten her origins. Anya couldn't restrain herself and took another half-step forward. "Who threw you out?" The question burst from her lips abruptly, with a sudden, sharp anger she felt toward the invisible perpetrators. The cat didn't understand the words, but caught the sharp change in tone. Her body instantly shrank. She crouched down, displaying terror and readiness to defend herself. The blue eyes widened, and that piercing, chilling fear Anya had seen on the first day reappeared in them. She realized she had broken the fragile truce. Her heart pounded loudly against her ribs. Anya understood her mistake. Too abrupt, too much emotion. She crouched down again, minimizing her silhouette as much as possible. "I'm sorry." Her voice was quiet and soft, devoid of any harsh inflection. "I didn't mean to scare you." The cat slowly turned and, without looking back, quickly disappeared into the shadow of the concrete niche, leaving behind only the empty bowl and the terry-cloth scarf. Anya remained sitting alone in the encroaching morning, feeling the cold, wet asphalt on her knees. She stood up, collected the bowl, and understood that earning the trust of this proud and deeply traumatized animal would take far more than 3 days of food. It required not just nourishment for the body, but healing for the soul, ruined by human betrayal. And she was ready to give that time. Tomorrow she would come again and just sit closer. The creak of the old rusty gate on the construction site broke through the silence of the emerging day. For the cat, this sound was a signal. Danger. It meant the workers had arrived, and large, loud figures could appear within minutes. But for Anya, the creaking gate was just background noise. She sat on the ground, cross-legged, only 5 feet from the concrete niche where the cat was hiding. 2 weeks of daily visits had passed, 2 weeks during which she simply came, placed the food, stepped back, and waited. Today she brought not only pâté, but also a soft fleece blanket, which she rolled up and placed beside her. It was overcast this morning. The air was heavy, saturated with fine water vapor. Another gust of wind brought the scent of fresh coffee and yeast pastries from a nearby bakery from under the gate, overriding the usual smell of dampness and concrete. This warm domestic scent briefly distracted Anya from her observation, making her feel the contrast between her world and the animals. The cat came out. She no longer crawled, pressing herself to the ground. Now she walked, warily, but on nearly straight legs. Her movements remained graceful, despite her thinness. She immediately approached the bowl, but before starting to eat, she stopped, raised her head, and looked at Anya. It wasn't a look of fear, but one of assessment. As if she was weighing, "Are you worth tolerating?" "I see you're getting used to the fish now," Anya said softly. She wasn't looking directly into the blue eyes, focusing her gaze on the animal's shoulder to avoid creating a direct threat. The cat began to eat. Today she ate slowly, with dignity. Thanks to the daily offering of water, Anya had begun bringing it in a bottle. The dirt on her snow-white coat began to come off faster. Now it was clearly visible that the animal was pure white. The long hairs on her ears, almost untouched by the dirt, made her look like a Siberian goddess captured by a swamp. Anya slowly, very slowly, extended her hand, laying it flat on the ground. She stretched out her fingers, not moving. There was about 1.5 feet between her palm and the cat. "I'm just sitting," Anya whispered. "I'm just sitting and doing nothing." The cat raised her head. For the first time in these 2 weeks, she didn't retreat. She simply stood, staring at the motionless palm. She finished eating and began to lick her muzzle. Anya saw her body trembling, but it was no longer the tremor of terror, but rather the residue of nervous tension. Anya began to talk, not about the cat, but about herself, the weather, Kelsey at work, what she had to do today. Her voice was even, monotonous, just background noise, proving that the person was nearby, but not dangerous. "And I'm really tired of this winter. I want some sun," Anya concluded. And at that moment, she dared to make a tiny movement. Slowly, silently, moving her palm forward by 1 inch. The cat recoiled. It wasn't from fear, but from reflex, a sharp, nervous retreat backward. But she didn't run away. She stopped. Her breathing became fast, ragged. She looked at Anya, and Anya looked at her. And this was the moment of truth. The cat hesitated. Her body, in every way, was saying, "Run! Threat!" But at the same time, she didn't move from the spot. And then, for the first time, the cat took a step forward. It was a tiny, tentative step. She went halfway to the palm. Anya felt cold sweat break out on her back from the tension. She couldn't blink. The cat approached, tilted her head, and focused on the hand. She sniffed. The smell of a wet glove, the faint aroma of hand cream. The next moment, the tip of her nose cautiously, almost weightlessly, touched the tip of Anya's finger. It was like an electrical shock, not from pain, but from emotional impact. Physically, Anya only felt the icy touch of a wet nose, but inside her, something crumbled, replaced by an unbearable tenderness. There it was, the first trust. The cat did not resist. She allowed it, her pride, her caution, her desperate need. All of it converged in that single, respectful touch. This was the peak of tension and the culmination of a 2-week struggle. The touch lasted no longer than a second. The cat immediately backed away, resuming a position of caution. Anya didn't move. She waited to let the animal understand. "You won. I will not cause harm." She felt her wrists begin to ache from holding the same position for so long, but she didn't care. The cat approached again, and this time she carefully pressed her side against the fleece blanket Anya had brought. "That's good," Anya exhaled. She knew she couldn't stay here forever. But today she had received a sign that the wall of fear had begun to crumble. Tomorrow she would try more. She wouldn't just sit. She would try to feed her from her hand. And if that succeeded, very soon, this unfortunate but incredibly proud cat would leave this icy concrete prison forever. 2 months ago, this white cat was part of a serene, warm world. Soft plush of a Persian rug under her paws, the quiet sounds of the TV in the living room, the aroma of expensive food in a gleaming bowl. Her life was an unbroken line of plenty. Now, her world was survival. Icy wind stripping the thin walls of the abandoned building, the metallic taste of rust in a dirty puddle, the constant aching feeling of emptiness in her stomach. The contrast between her soft, pampered life and the brutal, dirty survival was etched on every one of her protruding bones. Yesterday's touch of her nose to the woman's hand became the first bridge between these two worlds. Today, the woman came again. She brought not only food, but resolve. There was no pity in her eyes, only a firm intention to end this struggle and bring the animal back to warmth. Anya came during her lunch break. It was risky. Time was short, and she needed to get the cat home while no one was around. She put thick work gloves on her hands, understanding the animal might scratch her out of fear. This time she brought a particularly aromatic treat, pieces of boiled chicken. The cat, still sitting on the edge of her fleece blanket, came out right away. Hunger had become Anya's reliable ally, temporarily outweighing caution. Anya placed the bowl on the ground and then sat down at arm's length. She didn't rush. The cat began to eat. While the animal was busy, Anya spoke slowly, drawing out her words. "You have to come with me. You'll freeze here. Look how thin you've become." The cat, not looking up from the food, lifted an ear, catching the sound. The construction site smells were particularly sharp today. Fresh gasoline, apparently used to fuel a generator, cut through the stench of rotting garbage in the bin. When the last piece remained in the bowl, Anya gathered her courage. Very slowly, literally millimeter by millimeter, she placed a piece of chicken on the ground and then cautiously pulled it toward herself. The cat, finished with the bowl, looked at the chicken hesitantly. She covered the 4 inches, stopped, and began to eat from the ground. Anya moved the next piece, placing it almost on the edge of her glove. "Come to me. You are safe." The cat hesitated. She was so close that Anya could see the tremor in her thin back. Anya sat motionless. Her thigh muscles ached from the tension. The animal bowed its head and took the food from the glove. A pause. The lesson of trust learned the day before had worked. The cat took the next piece directly from the fingers that held it firmly but gently. This was the moment that couldn't be delayed. The cat finished eating. Anya extended both hands, trying to make it one smooth, continuous motion without lunging. "That's it," Anya whispered. "It's time to go home now." Her gloves closed around the thin, almost weightless body. The cat froze. It wasn't resistance, it was complete, paralyzing terror. Anya felt the body stiffen in her hands. Not a single scratch, no attempt to break free. The animal simply shut down, turning into a dirty but living lump. Its breathing became imperceptible. Anya felt her own breath catch. The cat's fear was so profound that it transferred to her. She felt the weight of that terror in her hands. Her shoulders tensed, holding back a shiver. In this moment, she carried not just a cat, but a monstrous trauma. She pressed the animal to her chest. Through the thick layer of gloves and dirty fur, she felt the rapid, nervous beating of the small heart. She had to be fast. She stood up, feeling her knees crack, and quickly wrapped the cat in her warm fleece scarf. "I'm taking you home," Anya said firmly, putting all the conviction she could find into her voice. Anya walked quickly down Trestle Way, clutching the warm bundle tightly to herself. She carried it like something incredibly valuable and fragile. The animal in the scarf remained completely motionless. She reached the nearest bus stop, where she quickly called a cab. To the clinic? No, peace was needed first. She couldn't add the smells of the hospital, injections, and strange people to this terror. Anya made the decision instantly. First, home, warmth, cleanliness, and only then, when the cat calmed down even a little. Would she call a veterinarian for a house visit? The car arrived. Anya got into the back seat. The driver glanced back. "What's that you got there?" he asked, drawing out his words. "A cat," Anya answered briefly, covering the bundle so that only its blue eyes, full of silent horror, were visible. A stray. She froze. She felt the cat's back flinch in her arms. They drove through the city's drone in the warm cab interior, but for the animal, the journey was only beginning. It was a path from darkness into light. Anya's bathroom was a small, light-filled space with snow-white tiles. Perfect cleanliness reigned here, smelling of fresh laundry detergent and floral soap. This sterile world was the complete opposite of the icy, oily refuge from which the cat had just been pulled. Anya had only 15 minutes. She quickly removed all the shampoos and cleaning products from the bathroom, leaving only a large, warm terry-cloth towel, which she laid out near the radiator. The cat, wrapped in the scarf, was gently lowered onto the towel. The animal instantly squirmed free and darted into the only available hiding place, behind the toilet, where it was quiet and dark. Anya placed the bowl of water and the leftover chicken she had brought next to it. Anya knelt and looked behind the toilet. In the semi-darkness, two cautious blue eyes gleamed. "Listen," Anya said softly. "I'm very sorry, but I have to leave. I'll be back tonight. You're safe, I promise." She felt a distinct unpleasantness from the odor emanating from the animal, a mix of dampness, diesel, and rotting leaves. But now it was more important to give the cat time to recover. She quickly closed the bathroom door and latched it, ensuring the animal couldn't escape into the apartment while she was at work. Anya rushed out of the apartment, locking the door. She literally had to run to catch the bus and avoid being late for the print shop. She felt guilty, but there was no choice. The rest of the day in the office dragged on painfully. The sounds of the printer, the voices of colleagues, the smell of paper, everything was irritating. Anya watched the clock. 4, 5, 6. When the hand finally reached 7, she grabbed her bag and, without saying goodbye to Kelsey, rushed out. She ran home. Her lungs burned from the quick pace. She burst into the apartment, going straight for the bathroom. She took a deep breath and slowly opened the door. The smell in the bathroom had become concentrated, but the cat was in place. She was lying curled up on the towel, barely raising her head at the creak of the door. "You're okay. Good." Anya felt her shoulders drop in relief. "Now, we'll take care of you." Anya quickly prepared everything necessary. Warm, non-hot water filled halfway up the tub, a bottle of baby shampoo with an apricot scent. She put on thick rubber gloves to protect herself from accidental scratches. She transferred the cat to the tub. Her paws, touching the water, instantly tensed. The animal's entire back arched, and her head turned to find a way to retreat. Her whiskers trembled. Panic. A muffled, short cry escaped her mouth. Anya acted quickly. She poured warm water, and the dirt immediately ran off in dark streams. The disgusting smell of wet grime and the street filled the small room. When Anya touched her head, the cat thrashed wildly in her hands. Her claws dug into the mat. "No, we'll finish this. Quiet, I'm here." Her voice was low and firm. She held her tightly, but without hurting her, washing off the last pieces of dirt. And then, when the foam disappeared and the water became clear, the transformation occurred. Anya gently wiped her muzzle. Beneath the layers of dirty residue, an ideally outlined, aristocratic face was revealed. Her eyes shone with a rich, piercing sapphire light. She was an incredible, perfect snow-white cat with luxurious fur. Anya felt a wide, involuntary smile spread across her face. Anya quickly wrapped the wet cat, trembling from fear and cold, in a warm, fluffy towel. "You're a real snowflake," Anya whispered. "Snowflake." She carried Snowflake out of the bathroom into the hallway. As soon as Anya lowered her to the floor, Snowflake twisted out of the towel. She didn't look back, and, crouching low, quickly disappeared. The sound of her light paws quickly faded as she darted under the massive sofa in the living room. The physical dirt was washed away, but the psychological fear remained. Anya knew that a new long stage of healing was about to begin. The stage where she would have to prove to Snowflake that hiding under the sofa was no longer necessary, that she was home. Anya remembered her grandmother's cat, old fluffy Murka, who never came out from behind the stove. That cat wasn't scared, just lazy and unbearably domestic. When Murka died, grandmother said, "An animal must feel needed. Then it lives long." And now, sitting on the living room floor and listening to the silence, Anya thought about Snowflake. She needed much more than just feeling needed. She needed to learn to live again, and, most importantly, to trust. The memory of how Snowflake had frozen in her hands during the rescue weighed heavily on Anya's chest. That fear was so deep, so permeated with betrayal, that it seemed like it would never disappear. Anya closed her eyes, pushing away the unpleasant thoughts. She mustn't pressure her. Snowflake spent the first 24 hours under the sofa, as if it were the concrete awning. Only darkness, silence, and the feeling of a physical barrier could bring her any peace. The second night arrived. Anya lay in bed, reading an old book, trying to be as quiet as possible. An unaccustomed silence hung in the apartment, broken only by the rare drone of cars on the street. Around 1 in the morning, the silence was broken by a very quiet, barely audible sound. A rustling. Anya froze, listening. Footsteps, light, almost indistinguishable pads touching the laminate floor. She propped herself up on her elbows, trying not to creak the mattress. Snowflake was out. In the moonlight filtering through the curtains, she looked ghostly, snow-white. Her silhouette was thin, elegant. She moved, crouching low, and cautiously sniffed the space. Snowflake approached the edge of the kitchen. Here, near the entrance, Anya had placed bowls of water and food. The aroma of the expensive dry kibble, bought today on the way home from work, mixed with the smell of furniture polish. The cat slowly sniffed. Anya noticed her whiskers trembling. She stood for a long time, studying the bowls, as if suspecting a trap. Finally, she made a decision. She approached, quickly ate a few pellets, and moved away, looking around. Then she returned and drank some water. Her entire behavior was not life, but a series of quick, nervous actions interspersed with long pauses filled with the expectation of a threat. Anya lay still, holding her breath so as not to scare her away. She knew she shouldn't reveal her presence, shouldn't disrupt this fragile moment of exploration. Snowflake began to explore the apartment. She wasn't just walking, she was patrolling. She sniffed the edge of the sofa, then approached the armchair, cautiously touching its cushion. Anya watched as she studied every detail of this new world. All the surfaces were soft, warm, uneven, smelling completely different from dirty concrete. At some point, Snowflake ended up directly opposite the bedroom where Anya lay. She stopped. Her gaze was directed right at the bed. Anya felt her heart start to beat heavier. This was the peak of tension. Now she would either run away or— The cat slowly, cautiously took a step toward the doorway. She didn't enter, but stopped on the threshold. She stood there motionless, staring at the warm, moonlit room. Anya took a very quiet, demonstratively relaxed breath. "Hello," she whispered. Snowflake flinched. Her back tensed, but she didn't run away. She took another step, but not forward, backward toward the sofa. This small, barely perceptible step back was more eloquent than any cry. She gave up further exploration because the human was too close. Her short outing was over. Anya felt a bitter taste of disappointment mixed with respect for the animal's fear appear on her tongue. Snowflake quickly returned to her refuge under the sofa, a light tap of her back paw against the furniture leg, and silence. Anya closed the book. There was no point in reading any more. She got up, went to the bedroom exit, and cautiously looked into the living room. She knew the cat could see her even from its dark corner. Anya went to the kitchen, poured herself water, and returned. She put the glass on the coffee table and sat down on the floor a few feet from the sofa. She didn't look under it. "You'll stay there as long as you need to," Anya said into the silence. "I won't touch you. I'll just sit here. You have food, water, and most importantly, you are warm." She felt this was only the beginning. The next step, the first real step toward connection, had to be made not by the human, but by Snowflake herself. And for that, she needed absolute unwavering proof that this woman was not a threat. Anya was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking her morning coffee, when her laptop screen flashed. She had been at this for a week now. Between Snowflake retreating under the sofa and her leaving for work, she searched. She searched, typing into the search engine, "Lost white cat, blue eyes, Siamese." She checked breeder databases, forums, and rescue groups. She was sure such a cat couldn't just be dumped. Someone must be looking for her. The 100th page on a lost pet forum. Anya scrolled down, and suddenly her hand froze above the touchpad. A photo. A poor-quality snapshot taken on a phone, but there was no doubt. Before her was Snowflake. Clean, well-groomed, with the same proud posture. The caption, "Siamese Thai mix cat named Rennie." The surprising thing wasn't that she had found the ad, but that it wasn't a search ad. It was an old post, dated almost 3 months ago, with the note, "Giving away to a good home due to relocation." Anya felt a wave of cold rush over the back of her neck. This was strange. Anya quickly found the contact information. It was the phone number of a woman named Sierra. Anya's heart was pounding, throbbing in her temples. She expected the woman to be relieved. Maybe she had lost the cat on the way to the new house and was now heartbroken. Anya moved to another room so the sound of her voice wouldn't reach the living room where Snowflake was sleeping under the sofa. She pressed the call button. "Hello?" A slightly irritated, casual female voice answered the phone. "Hello, my name is Anya. I'm calling about the ad you posted 3 months ago regarding a white cat with blue eyes." The pause on the other end of the line was long and tense. "Ah," Sierra drew out, "you're late. We already gave her away. Or rather, she left on her own. Sorry." Anya swallowed, feeling dryness in her mouth. "Are you sure? I found a very similar cat. I think it's yours. I found her at an abandoned construction site. She's in terrible shape, very emaciated." "At a construction site? Come on, our Rennie was very smart. She wouldn't go far. Besides, we moved." Anya gripped the phone, feeling her knuckles turn white. "So you just left her there when you moved? She's a purebred domestic cat." "Well, left how? We put her out with our belongings. We thought the neighbors would take her or something like that. She's litter-trained. We couldn't drag her across the whole country with us, you know. We have a new renovation here, and, well, she's kind of old now." Sierra spoke matter-of-factly, with the tone of a person discussing the disposal of an old sofa, not a living creature. Anya heard the clatter of dishes and someone's cheerful laughter in the background. "I see," Anya said curtly. "So you didn't even look for her?" "Why would we? We moved." Sierra's voice grew slightly louder, showing annoyance. "Anyway, if you have her, just keep her. She's not ours anymore. Good luck." And Sierra simply hung up. Anya lowered the phone to the table. A heavy, hot lump of anger rose in her chest, and she had to lean her wrist on the countertop to steady herself. This wasn't just indifference. It was active, conscious betrayal, justified by everyday inconveniences. Kind of old now. Couldn't drag her. She felt her cheeks burn. The revulsion toward Sierra and all people capable of such an act was almost physical. Anya stood up, and the floor seemed to sway. Her body began to tremble, not from cold, but from inner burning indignation. She looked at the sofa in the living room. Underneath it lay the victim of this cold, heartless calculation. Snowflake, not Rennie, a proud, traumatized, but miraculously surviving cat who had simply been thrown away like trash. Anya slowly clenched her fists. The anger gave her strength, replacing pity. Now she knew that Snowflake belonged to her, not only by the fact of rescue, but by the right of protection. Anya returned to the table and quickly deleted all search queries, all the forum tabs. The search was over. There were no more former owners. There was only Snowflake and her new life. She felt a surge of resolve. Now, knowing the reason for the animal's deep fear, she understood that the healing would be even more complex and lengthy. It had to be absolute. Anya poured fresh coffee. She set the cup down, bypassing the living room, and went to the bedroom to change. A clean, warm fleece hoodie lay on the bed, smelling of fabric softener. She took the hoodie, folded it into quarters, and very slowly, so as not to make a sound, placed it on the floor in the living room, exactly 3 feet from Snowflake's refuge. This was a new, warm boundary, the next attempt at contact. Anya felt like a marathon runner who couldn't see the finish line. Another week passed after the bath. Snowflake remained confined under the sofa, but her presence filled the apartment with a quiet, constant anxiety. Anya couldn't relax. Even reading a book turned into an anticipation. Where is she? Did she come out to eat? How is she feeling? The hardest part was not to pressure her. Anya constantly reminded herself of the cold indifference of the former owners and tried to become its complete opposite. Her internal state was like a tightly drawn bowstring. She was ready to jump up at any moment, but knew she had to remain still. Success was measured not by action, but by inaction. Anya developed a new habit. In the evening after dinner, she would sit on the living room floor with her back to the sofa. She would read aloud, talk on the phone with friends, or just listen to music, but she always remained in the exact same spot, not moving, becoming part of the furniture. Tonight, she was sitting on the floor, and next to her, at arm's length, lay the fleece hoodie she had left yesterday. Snowflake had been using it as a temporary bed for several days. Anya slowly stroked the fabric, creating a quiet, repetitive sound that was meant to be soothing. About an hour passed. The apartment was warm, quiet. The only sounds were a faint crackle in the old parquet floor and the soft radio. Suddenly, Anya felt something soft touch her shin. She froze. "Don't breathe. Don't move. Snowflake." She had come out from under the sofa and, not daring to go on to the hoodie, pressed her side against Anya's leg. She was so close that Anya could feel the thin bones of her hip and the heat emanating from her body. Anya remained absolutely motionless. Even her breathing became shallow. The cat sniffed. She investigated the pant leg, the edge of the sock, the shoe. The smells that Snowflake knew from the street, the same shoes, the same pants, were now associated with warmth and food. Snowflake began to move upward, slowly, cautiously. First, she placed a front paw on Anya's knee. Anya felt a sharp claw through her jeans. It wasn't a scratch, just a fixation. Snowflake made the decisive leap. In one quick, graceful motion, she jumped onto Anya's lap. Anya felt her body flinch from the surprise. The cat's weight was minimal, but the emotional gravity of the action was huge. Snowflake didn't settle down. She stood on Anya's knees, her body tense. Her head was raised, and her blue eyes drilled into Anya's face, as if conducting a final decisive test. Anya, carefully, avoiding touching her head and back, began to slowly stroke the animal's flank. The stroking was almost weightless, intended to demonstrate softness, not force. Snowflake closed her eyes, and then Anya heard it. At first, it was a weak, intermittent rumble, a sound that seemed to be pushing through rusty mechanisms, sputtering, pausing, but it grew stronger, deeper, purring. It was Snowflake's first purr. Anya felt the vibration of that sound. Her whole body felt it like a subtle massage. Finally, the thin wall of fear had collapsed. At that moment, Snowflake relaxed and gently nudged her face into Anya's stomach. It was her acknowledgement, her surrender to kindness. Anya felt hot tears roll down her cheeks, and an incredible, liberating warmth blossomed in her chest. Anya held Snowflake tightly, but very carefully, to herself. The cat allowed it. "My girl," Anya whispered. "You're home." A few minutes later, Snowflake began to groom a paw, having settled in comfortably. At that moment, Anya felt that her fur, which only seemed clean, still smelled faintly off. Plus, her thinness was excessive. The purring gave her confidence. It was time to act. "You know what? We need to go," Anya said softly, carefully lifting the cat. Snowflake didn't resist. She looked at Anya with complete new trust. Anya placed her in the carrier, covering her with the fleece hoodie. Now that the fear was temporarily put aside, it was time to check her physical health. Tomorrow, work can wait. Tomorrow, they were going to the vet to make sure Snowflake's body was as ready for a new life as her soul. The smells of the veterinary clinic were sharp and unsettling. Alcohol, disinfectant, and the subtle but palpable scent of fear emanating from the other animals. For Snowflake, who had purred for the first time only yesterday on Anya's lap, this was a massive new challenge. The purring disappeared, replaced by complete, paralyzing terror. They were greeted by a woman veterinarian named Dr. Lena. Calm, with dark, pulled-back hair, she immediately sensed Anya's tension. "Don't worry," Dr. Lena said, nodding toward the carrier. "I can see she's under immense stress." Anya carefully took Snowflake out and placed her on the cold metal table. The cat instantly pressed herself against the surface, trying to become as flat as possible. Snowflake stoically endured all the touches, only flattening her ears against her head and widening her sapphire eyes, but making no attempt to escape. Dr. Lena examined her thoroughly, feeling her stomach and checking her coat. She noted that the fur was already softer after the bath, but required meticulous care. "You found her outside 3 weeks ago?" the vet asked, weighing Snowflake. "Yes." Dr. Lena placed the cat back on the table. The scale read 6.8 pounds. "Anya, your timely intervention and feeding saved her life," Dr. Lena told her. "She's certainly thin for a cat her age, and this large a breed, but it's no longer a critical level of emaciation. Her body has received support. I don't see signs of acute infections, which is the main thing. She has a good heartbeat, and judging by her demeanor, your home has brought her significant relief." Dr. Lena moved on to the question of the breed, gently stroking Snowflake's long, thin tail. "Were you curious about what she is? This is definitely a purebred animal. The long fur, the graceful build, the magnificent tail, and those piercing eyes. This is most likely a Turkish Angora. The pure white coat, the long, thin body. It all points to the Angora. They are known for their aristocracy and, unfortunately, a predisposition to deafness, but by her reaction, I can see she hears perfectly." Anya felt a pang of pride. A Turkish Angora. A queen. Dr. Lena prescribed a high-calorie diet, vitamins, and mandatory deworming. Vaccinations in a week. While Dr. Lena was writing the prescription, Anya looked at Snowflake. She was pressed against Anya's arm, still trembling, but no longer trying to run away. "How could anyone throw away a cat like this, an expensive, rare one?" Anya whispered, recalling Sierra's indifferent voice. "Unfortunately, it happens often," Dr. Lena sighed heavily. "People take in a beautiful animal, and when it gets old, requires care, or they simply need to move, they get rid of it. Purebred animals suffer the most because they are completely unsuited to the street." This thought hit Anya with new force. How many more snowflakes were freezing on the street right now, unable to survive? Those who wouldn't be searched for because they were already too old. On the way home in the cab, Anya was already contemplating a plan. She took out her phone and took a few pictures of Snowflake in the carrier. Her gaze was full of fear, but also hope. "Snowflake, you're going to become a symbol," Anya whispered. "A symbol that they can be saved." She decided she would use her story, her contacts, and her energy. She would start a volunteer program to help abandoned purebred animals. The photos of the transformed Snowflake, before and after, would become living proof that beneath every dirty, frightened face lay a noble creature in need of love. This would be her new mission. That evening, Anya finally felt free. Snowflake's physical health was under control. Her spiritual healing had begun, and Anya herself had found a purpose that extended beyond her work at the print shop, to save those whom human carelessness had betrayed. She began drafting a plan, sketching a logo, and writing the first posts. She felt a surge of energy she hadn't felt in a long time. That night, Snowflake came out from under the sofa for the first time and jumped onto the bed. She settled at Anya's feet and peacefully fell asleep. One crisis had been overcome, but Anya knew the psychological trauma had not yet passed, and the next test was just around the corner. Anya woke up feeling a weight on her chest. Snowflake. The snow-white, slightly heavy ball was purring softly, nestled by her chin. This was the morning after the vet visit, and it was the first complete reconciliation. Anya gently stroked the soft, long fur on the animal's back. She felt wonderful. The action plan was ready. The cat was healthy, and she had finally received the warmth she had so long awaited. Anya was sure the crisis had completely passed, but psychological trauma is not a physical wound. It doesn't heal on schedule. The day passed quietly. Anya had taken the day off to spend it with Snowflake. The cat followed her from room to room, no longer hiding, though maintaining an aristocratic distance. Anya brushed her for the first time, slowly, with a soft brush. Snowflake allowed it, and tufts of old undercoat and the last remnants of street dust flew from her fur. In the evening, Anya decided to celebrate. She ordered dinner delivery. This was her fatal mistake. The doorbell rang, loud, sharp, unaccustomed to the silence of her apartment, the piercing ring at the door. In that instant, Snowflake stopped purring. She was lounging on the rug, and her relaxed body instantly tensed. Her fur stood on end. Her back curved into a high arch. Her sapphire eyes, just moments ago half closed in pleasure, snapped open and filled with panic. Anya heard a loud male voice outside the door. "Delivery! Open up!" The cat, without making a sound, darted away. Her flight wasn't just a desire to hide, it was a panicked, instinctive, fugitive reaction. She didn't stop under the sofa as before. She dove under the comforter in the bedroom, burrowing into it, and from there came a quiet, ragged breathing. Anya felt a wave of alarm roll down the back of her neck. One sound, and a whole week of patience had been undone. She opened the door, quickly took the bag, paid for the order, and slammed the door shut. "Kels, you won't believe what just happened," Anya said quietly into the phone to her friend as they discussed the volunteering idea. "The doorbell just rang, just the ring, and Snowflake, she disappeared. She didn't just hide, she fled. I feel like such an idiot. I thought we were past all that." "Anya, listen to me," Kelsey answered calmly. She survived trauma associated with people and sounds. Maybe that doorbell reminded her of the moment she was thrown out of the house, or the noise of the construction site. It's not your fault, and it's not a relapse. It's a reaction. She feels safe with you, but external triggers are stronger than your presence right now. Just give her time. The conversation with Kelsey calmed Anya. She realized her confidence had been premature. She had to accept it. Snowflake wasn't ready for the world yet. Anya took a small bowl of chicken pâté and slowly walked into the bedroom. She cautiously knelt by the bed. "Hi, it's okay. He's gone. It's just food. I'm here," she spoke softly. She waited. 5-10 minutes passed. Not a sound. Not a movement came from under the comforter. Complete stillness. Anya felt a sharp wave of dejection. Suddenly, the edge of the comforter lifted. Slowly, as if on invisible hinges, a small white face appeared. The sapphire eyes, still wide with fear, studied Anya. Anya didn't move. She just held the bowl and waited. Snowflake, overcoming herself, crawled out of her hiding place. She approached the bowl, quickly ate the pâté, and immediately returned under the comforter. But she returned under the comforter in the bedroom next to Anya, not under the sofa in the living room. Anya carefully lay down on the bed, not disturbing the comforter. She closed her eyes and began to read softly aloud. The monotonous, calm sound of her voice was the only medicine she could offer right now. A few minutes later, through the thickness of the comforter, she felt a faint, slightly uneven but steady purr. The fear had returned, but it had been defeated not by loud words or food, but by Anya's quiet, persistent, physical closeness. It wasn't a victory, but a truce, sealed between trauma and love. Snowflake would long remember the horrors of the street, but now she had an anchor, the silence and warmth that only one person could provide. 3 months had passed. Not a trace remained of the emaciated, dirty ghost hiding under the concrete slabs. Snowflake was completely transformed. The long, snow-white fur of the Turkish Angora now shone with cleanliness. She had gained weight, and her movements acquired the regal confidence that had been suppressed by fear. She no longer hid. The only thing left of her trauma was a wary attitude toward loud and sharp sounds. When the doorbell rang, she still flinched, but now she didn't run under the sofa. She simply froze and searched for Anya with her eyes. She had completely claimed Anya's apartment. The sunny windowsill was her throne, the soft fleece throw her couch, and Anya's heart her eternal home. She became not just a house cat, but a companion cat. Snowflake was demanding, aristocratic, and incredibly talkative, as befitted her breed. In the morning, she woke Anya with gentle but insistent meows, walking across her face. When Anya worked on the computer, Snowflake invariably settled on the keyboard or the desk, blocking the screen. She demanded attention, and she demanded it immediately. Tonight was a cold winter evening. Anya was sitting on the sofa, wrapped in a throw. Snowflake was settled next to her. She placed a front paw on Anya's arm, and in that moment her sapphire eyes seemed to look straight into her soul. There was no terror in that gaze now, only affection and unconditional trust. Anya carefully picked her up and held her close. Snowflake immediately activated her powerful, vibrating purr. The sound was deep and steady, without the earlier sputtering. It was a hymn to warmth and safety. "Did you forget you were ever a street cat?" Anya whispered, kissing her soft head. Snowflake responded with a demanding nudge of her head, insisting that Anya continue stroking her. Anya's notebook lay beside the sofa. On the first page was a drawn logo, a stylized silhouette of a snow-white cat emerging from shadow into light. The name, Snowflake, Foundation for Abandoned Purebreds. For the past 2 months, Anya had not only cared for Snowflake, but had also worked on her project. She had enlisted Kelsey, arranged collaboration with Dr. Lena, and created a small but active group of volunteers, all inspired by Snowflake's story. Today was launch day. Anya opened her laptop. On the screen was the first article. The story of Snowflake, from construction site dirt to Turkish Angora in your home. Below the text were 2 photos. The emaciated, dirty ghost with frightened eyes in the concrete niche, and the current Snowflake, a proud, luxurious cat lying on a silk cushion and looking into the camera with regal dignity. Anya pressed the publish button. The moment the post went live, Snowflake did something unexpected. She slid off Anya's lap and, with a flick of her tail, made several quick, playful jumps on the spot, trying to catch a sunbeam reflecting on the wall. It was pure, unclouded joy and playfulness, something that would have been impossible even a month ago. It was a sign. Anya laughed. "You're right. The new life has begun," she said, watching the cat stretch gracefully, demonstrating all her queenly stature. She closed the laptop. The work was done. The mission had begun. But first, she needed to enjoy this moment. Anya lay down on the sofa and pulled Snowflake close. The cat nestled into her neck, and her purring became the only thing that mattered. A life that had begun with indifference and betrayal continued with warmth, love, and a new purpose. They had saved each other. Anya gave Snowflake a home, and Snowflake gave Anya a goal, changing her world forever.